The worst year for a lot of us for our mental as well as physical health. So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless, and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disrupted: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance. This is your chance where I sit down with today's tops in business, mindset, wellness, and success to help you master disruption.
Thanks for coming, and I'll see you soon.
Welcome back to the Whole CEO with Lisa G podcast, where we talk to the world's most powerful leaders about bold moves behind their biggest breakthroughs. Today's guest is a coach, host of the Plan Goal Plan podcast, ranked top 1.5% worldwide. She helps high-achieving leaders drop the burnout badge and rise into deeper alignment using something refreshingly simple: ritual and reflection. With a background in coaching national champion teams and designing retreats that spark radical clarity, she teaches people how to turn overachievement into authentic aligned action. This is for you if you've ever felt like success is costing you something. You don't want to miss this one. Welcome, Dr. Danielle McGeough. Welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Me too. This is great. I already enjoyed meeting you behind the scenes, and I want to jump into something you said, which is that planning is self-revelation or revelation. Can you break that down for us and explain how rituals help overachievers finally feel aligned with what they actually want?
Ooh, yeah, that's such a great question. So, when I first got into planning, I was really taking the approach of time management, right? So I was overcommitted. I was in cycles of overcommitment. I was burnout. My kiddo had just been born. I had another one on the way. And I learned I'm a full-time professor as well. And I learned that I'd earned tenure, which was a goal that I've been working on really all of my adult life.
Wow.
Yeah. And, rather than feeling excited, I was exhausted and I kind of felt flat and I had no idea what was next.
Right.
And so my impulse was, okay, well, like, let's manage our schedules better. If I'm feeling overcommitted, like, how do I just clear some space?
Yeah.
And what I learned through that process is that when planning is done paired with deep reflection, that it actually is a way to collect data on ourselves about what our values are, about what our priorities are, and that then you can from there use planning to help design your life. And so for me, planning became so much more than just managing my calendar, but really became a way for me to learn about myself. And so that's what I teach. I kind of teach planning as personal revelation. And, through that, rather than thinking about planning as a habit that you have to have, I like to
Yeah.
think about it as a ritual.
It's so much better when you think of something you get to have than have to have. And for me, I'm wondering if that makes you take things out of your calendar that are not aligned rather than try to plan better so that it all fits in.
Absolutely. When I was first starting, one of my activities is a simple one that you hear about a lot, which is just, every day write down your daily top three. So if there were three things by the end of the day that you accomplished that would make you feel just really good, satisfied, fulfilled,
Right.
what would those three things be? But what I realized is that to make that practice even more impactful, I would do that over the course of 2 weeks and then look at those 2 weeks all together and see, well, where are the patterns? So, for example, if I kept writing down exercise as one of the things on my list, but it was
Yeah.
never happening,
Yeah.
I would have to ask myself, okay, is this really one of my daily top three? Like, is this really a priority? Or is it like, have I not been treating it as such? And so, like,
Right.
what's going on there? And actually, what's really interesting is right after I had my kiddo, I realized, oh, it's not a priority. What's a
The
priority?
exercise.
It's
Yeah.
just not a priority. It's sleep. And that I needed to get a different foundational practice in place before I could really make the exercise happen. And once I gave myself permission to make sleep my daily top three instead of exercise, it was
Yeah.
wild. Like within a month, I was just able to do that. And
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it was wonderful. I think that, for me, some of these really simple practices weren't just about, like you said, managing my time, but aligning what I'm
Yeah.
doing with my values.
I love how you carved out time for sleep because it's one of those things like the hustle mentality tells you sleep when you're older and rest when you're dead. And reality is it's such an important thing for us women to be able to function and also be a nice human. So I think that was a good call on your part. And you've coached national champions and busy execs. Like, what is one common leadership block you see, especially for high performers? And how do your rituals create space for a breakthrough?
Yeah, one of the things that I've really noticed with a lot of the women that I work with is a cycle of overcommitment. And I think there's all sorts of different things that I think perpetuate that. Sometimes it's not feeling like they are valued. And so what happens is they keep saying yes, hoping that if they say yes enough, that then people will notice them and value them. And like through those yeses, they'll become visible. But the irony of that is actually that the power of saying no and saying, no, my time is valuable and I'm going to honor it, that actually earns you the respect and the visibility that we can actually render ourselves invisible by saying yes over and over again.
I
And
agree. Yeah. Like the boundaries are so key.
oh, absolutely. And, so that's one of the really big things. Right now there's a lot of talk about burnout, and I think a lot of people are experiencing burnout. I also think that it's really important to recognize, are we experiencing burnout, disengagement, or demoralization? And
Right.
yeah, because I think that each of those is slightly different and how we address them is a little bit different. So I think sometimes people are like, "Oh, I'm burnout." And they really are exhausted, and what they might need is more rest, more boundaries, more
Yeah.
space so that they can think and process and step into their leadership. I think that for other people, they might be in a state of demoralization, feeling like, I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. And at
Yeah.
that point, no amount of rest is going to help you reconnect with your why.
Yeah.
you know? And so, like, the answer to those questions is a little bit different. And so, I think that having practices in place that let you get really clear on, okay, I'm stuck, but like, what kind of stuck am I? And if I can articulate that, I'm going to have a clear sense of what the remedy is for that stuckness, if you will.
I mean, yeah, because nobody wants to feel demoralized. I mean, that is like a clear distinction of feeling overwhelmed or feeling burnout or feeling demoralized. It's good that you really get to the thing behind the thing of what's keeping us stuck.
Absolutely. I love you had an episode where you talked about burnout being a whisper, and that it whispers before it screams at you. And I think that when you have regular practices of reflection,
Yeah.
it means that you can hear that whisper before
Yeah.
it screams.
I think emotional intelligence is such an important part of leadership that's really kind of gotten set back maybe 10 years since the pandemic and 2025 in general of all of the disruptions. And I started this podcast in 2020 because I was disrupted and I figured everybody else was, but who would have known 5 years later we're still going. So I appreciate that we agree on the need to address the burnout and then get to the thing behind the thing of what it really is. And can you share a tiny ritual that's creating big shifts for you or one of your clients?
Absolutely. So, really quick, I am going to explain what I think the difference is between a ritual and a routine, or
Okay.
a habit and a ritual. So, when we think about habits, I love habits. You should have good habits. But habits are often designed with the intention to eventually be unconscious, right? So when we say that we want to have a habit of turning off our email at the end of the day or
Yeah.
exercising, what we really mean is that we want it to feel easy, right? We want
Right.
to do it without thinking about it or too much effort. And
Yeah.
habits are awesome, but they can, if you're someone that's already feeling like you're living on autopilot, a habit could just reinforce that sense of autopilot.
Wow. That's an interesting distinction.
Yeah, and so ritual is really designed to invite presence, and it's designed to transform us from one state to another. And so
Yeah.
I like to sort of take some time and think about, well, where do I want to have habits in my life, and where do I want to have rituals? And one of the most powerful places for rituals that I find with leaders is actually having an end of the workday ritual that helps you turn off work brain and lets you then go home and be present for the people that you love. And
Yeah.
and how people create that ritual is really up to them. There are some parts of a ritual that I think are really important, though. I think that you should have an opening action that ignites your ritual, that says, the ritual is beginning. I'm starting my close down ritual. And this might be something as simple as turning off your computer or shutting your planner on your desk or your notebook. And then you want to think about, well, what is the state that I'm in? I'm in, busy Betty state, and I want to move into relaxed Rita state. And so if you're moving from busy to relaxed, what are some sensory elements that you can incorporate into your ritual that will move you from that? So, for example, when I'm talking to people about morning rituals, I am actually really anxious in the morning. I wake up with busy brain and I'm like ready to go, but I need to chill out a bit. And
Yeah.
so like actually having really cozy blankets or something cozy feels really good for me in the morning
Yeah.
because it helps like my anxiety calm down. Whereas like my husband who is not a morning person, he needs to rev it up. So he
Yeah.
would never want a cozy blanket as like a sensory element of his ritual. So same with your own end of the workday element. Like, well, what's the energy that you want to bring to your home? And what are some sensory experiences, smells, touches, um, just like some sort of a feeling that you can evoke that will help invite that state that you want to create. And then finally, just make sure that you have a clear ending to your ritual, that once I've done this, workday brain is done, and I am fully into relaxed Rita mode.
Oh, I love that so much. I'm telling you, I've talked to a lot of executives who found that post-pandemic and Zoom world, we don't have that transition anymore. And I know for myself, like in 2020, I would just carry my computer and my phone with me everywhere. It was like everywhere was my office and my place. And having that boundary is so difficult when you work from home. So I'm glad that you create rituals because the world has changed so much and we need them now more than ever. Otherwise, I talk to a lot of people who find that we're just working more now instead of less. So, do you have any final, like, fun things, like a ritual that you want to share that you would never skip no matter what, no matter how chaotic your day gets?
Absolutely. So, first, I would say make it fun. Like, I think that enjoyment is maybe the most secret, hidden, and effective productivity hack there is. So I think if you want to be productive, if you want people in your workplace to be productive, have flippin' fun. And for me, I know that my morning ritual is one that I will not skip. And it is one that is absolutely fun for me. And that involves, a good coffee. It involves cuddling my puppies. It
Oh,
involves me doing some journaling and just having the space to think. And I journal with a good pen because life is too short for crappy pens
right.
and great paper. And I just spend some time journaling. And then from there, I actually do a little bit of planning so that I can have some clarity on what's ahead of my day. But that is one of my most important rituals is that morning time that sets me up, it grounds me, and I get puppy cuddles and caffeine.
I feel so aligned on that. I'm like, my morning routine is very precious, but now having spoken to you today, I want to have a evening ritual too. So thank you for sharing all those wisdom, bold strategies with us. Do you have any place people can find you?
I would love for you all to come check out my podcast, Plan Goal Plan. Uh, it's fun. I'm having a blast doing it, and I would love for you to come over and listen to me there.
Plan, goal, plan. Let's do this. Thanks for being such a wonderful guest.
Thanks for having me, Lisa, and we got to get you on Plan Goal Plan too.
Yes.